Day of Drift is the latest game from Muse Turbo, and it is a wrestlable, grappleable, drifting challenge game that pairs it up with cute aesthetics and a soundtrack that is a mixture of kind of chiptune and late 80s and early 90s dance music that gives this whole game a I released it as an anime in 1989 vibe, which I'm absolutely here for and love. But beneath it is a really challenging drift game that allows you to still progress through the game if you do okay, but you'll want to come back again and again and again to get those gold trophies for each of the challenges. The base game comes with 60 challenges split into two very distinct halves. The first of these is a time trial only mode, which gives you 30 tracks with a gold, silver and bronze time to beat, and you'll be trying to drift and scoot and nitro boost your way around these tight and twisty tracks in order to reach the end as quick as possible. Every time you hit something, whether that's a bollard or a side of the road, you get a second added onto your timer. And if you hit something at all, you lose the ability to get a gold medal, and you can only get silver and bronze. Hence that whole replayability, spank restart, and off and away you go again as you desperately try to get to that gold trophy standard, which is incredibly difficult to do. Even harder, for me at least, was the drift mode, the other 30 tracks in this game, totally separate tracks, and the idea is that you still have to reach the end of the goal of this challenge within a certain time limit, but you also have to rack up a drift score. Now, drifting works in two ways. You can kind of skid your way around a corner or gently tap on the brake to try and skid around as best as possible, but you kind of tailfish or snakefish out of it, and so it feels like you've lit up the tyres and are out of control. Or you can spank the handbrake, and it almost feels like you go into a pendulum swing like a grapple hook sometimes around some of the corners, depending on how hard you've pressed the turning of your D-pad or analog stick to get around these corners. And both options are viable. Some work differently or better in other scenarios, but it's up to you to choose which is the best way to rack up the drift scores. Because again, if you touch something, you then lose 20 drift points. And so you need to be able to get to the end fast, drift as much as possible, and still be clean to get those top scores. This game is ripe for replayability because during my first playthrough of this game, I've passed all of the 60 challenges that are initially in the game. There's a third section called Special Seasonal Challenges, which gets updated over time with online leaderboards, which is quite cool. But they follow those two principles of I'm either a time trial or a drift, largely. Now, these types of games live and die by their physics, and it takes a while to get used to Day of Drift, because this is easily one of the most soapiest yet grippiest drift games I've played, which sounds like a paradox, and it is, and that's why it takes a while to get used to. Because as soon as you turn, you lose control of your car and are skidding around. If you start mucking about with accelerate, brake to try and feather it around, it is the slowest and most cumbersome way to try and do it. You have to kind of commit and hope for the best. And thankfully some of the tracks are designed in a way where actually it's got a deep corner, particularly if you've got a long straight and you might have used some nitro boost to try and speed up to get under the time limit. It then allows you to spank the brake and try and chuck the car round. And this is what I mean by this game feeling wrestlable and grappleable, because it does feel like you're pendulum swinging yourself around these challenge courses that just back and forth 180 degree twist on themselves constantly. And the courses, and naughty developer for this, keep putting deep fake outs in for things as well. So you'll end up in an area that looks like it's going to turn one direction, but actually it's just more car parking space that then means that you've got an area to potentially drift back onto the racing line to then continue down the straight and score more points. But it's technically slower. And so again, memorization of tracks is key. Each of these two modes then ends in a ginormous finale where instead of the course being between 30 to 60 seconds, it's like a 6 to 7 minute course for you to try and showcase all of your skills. And what I loved about this is that it brought together everything you learn in each of the modes. So whether it is moving bollards or the fact that you have to drive over red and green buttons to raise and lower parking bollards to get in and out of your way, or whether you're going across moving conveyor belts that will put you off and steer you offline, which then means that the angle for your drift is going to be wonky. And the only way how you can stay in a straight line is to boost over it. But you might have used your boost previously to get down a straight. So again, lots and lots of different things to consider and think about. The other really cool thing about Day of Drift, and it is totally unique, I think, to this style of game, especially with this aesthetic, is that you can then go into the menu and change the values of the top speed, the acceleration, the steering sensitivity, and kind of the pendulum of a drift. So you can custom set up some of your cars to suit specific tracks. Now, I didn't do that very much, but I love the fact that it's there, and when you move stuff on the dials, it really does make a tangible difference to how your car goes racing and drifting. And so if you're struggling to get around certain tracks, muck about in those settings, and it will save you seconds and seconds of time over particularly longer courses. So yeah, just an awful lot for £2. I really recommend this. Yes, the handling will take a little bit of getting used to, but it's consistent, and that's what's key, because then it's learnable, and then you get into the rhythm and groove of it, and then you're busy chasing gold trophy times and medals and achievements. So big up for Day of Drift. I had a great time with this, and hopefully I'll see you lot on the leaderboards if you buy it too. Take care.